Joe Kennedy Jr. was the apple of Joe Kennedy Sr.'s eye. He had plans on him being president, him running for Congress, him doing all these things. And when he died, Joe Kennedy made it clear that John Kennedy was going to take his turn and do that. He was going to step in. So it was the fate of older brother Joe Jr. that set the stage for JFK's career after the war. And John Kennedy was a little reluctant, but he felt that it was his duty, his responsibility to fill the political shoes of his older brother. This is what he later said publicly about the pressure that his dad put on him to do this. Again, a quote you don't have to write down. He said, going into politics, "It was like being drafted. My father wanted his eldest son in politics. Wanted isn't the right word. He demanded it. You know my father." So he might not have even been in politics if not his brother had been killed in World War II. Well, a little bit about his political career. In 1946, he was elected to the House of Representatives from Massachusetts. That was his first political job. He was elected to the House of Representatives. He was a congressman from Massachusetts in 1946. And his time in Congress wasn't too eventful except for this thing. He went to a dinner party in Washington, D.C. when he was a junior congressman. And I'll be darned if he didn't meet a pretty young lady by the name of Jacqueline Bouvier, okay, at a dinner party. And she was better known as Jackie to her friends. And she was the daughter of a wealthy Wall Street banker by the name of John V. Bouvier III. Okay? So John Kennedy's a congressman. He attends a dinner party and he gets an opportunity to meet a pretty young lady by the name of Jacqueline Bouvier, who just happened to be the daughter of a very wealthy Wall Street broker by the name of John V. Bouvier III. So she came from a little cash herself. Okay? And he met her at this dinner party while he served in the Congress representing Massachusetts. And he met her in Washington, D.C. Now, he courted her during that time, and in 1952, what did John Kennedy set his sights on? Besides her. The Senate. He decided he was going to run for the Senate. And he ran for the Senate, and in November of 1952, he defeated Henry Cabot Lodge, Jr. to become Senator of Massachusetts. So in November, I'll repeat it. In November of 1952, early in 1952, Kennedy decides he's going to run for the Senate. So he campaigns, and in the election in November of 1952, he defeats the Republican candidate, Henry Cabot Lodge, Jr. to become Senator of Massachusetts. And if you look over here, here's a picture of Henry Cabot Lodge, Jr. and a letter he signed. We've got all kinds of nice memorabilia here. So Kennedy defeats Republican Henry Cabot Lodge, Jr. in the Senate race for Massachusetts in 1952. And he becomes Senator Kennedy. Well, it was during his Senate campaign in which he and Jackie were married. It was kind of considered the wedding of the decade. You had the very wealthy, handsome Senator John Kennedy marrying the very wealthy, probably the catch of Washington, D.C., and Jacqueline Bouvier. And they married in 1953. And they had 4 children. So in 1953, John and Jackie married. And the couple ended up having 4 children. Some more tragedies, however. Okay? Because how many children? Anybody know John Kennedy's children? Do you remember what their names were? What ones you know? Everybody heard of John Kennedy Jr., right? And Caroline Kennedy? Well, there were 2 others. The first born in 1956, August of 1956, was stillborn. So Jackie lost her first child. It was a girl, and she is buried next to the president in Arlington. You'll get a chance to see that. So the first child of Jackie and John was stillborn, lost their first child in August of 1956. By the way, I want you to go back to Henry Cabot Lodge real quick. And Junior, when you wrote that in your notes, and I want you to just circle that, because he's going to come back to us here later in our lectures down the line. So just kind of keep him in mind. See if we can remember that when we get to it. Henry Cabot Lodge Jr. So the first child of Jackie and John Kennedy was stillborn, died in August of '56. The next born was Caroline, Caroline, Caroline Kennedy, and she was born on November 27, 1957, and I tell you the date for a specific reason. So Caroline was born on November 27, 1957. Okay? After her birth was John F. Kennedy Jr. John F. Kennedy Jr. And he was born on November 25th, 1960. November 25th, 1960. So Caroline's born on November 27th, 1957, and John Kennedy Jr. is born on November 25th, 1960. Why do I mention those dates? Anybody know what date the president was assassinated in 1963? November 22nd. They buried John Jr.'s father on his birthday. And they celebrated Caroline's 2 days later. Okay? Bad time. Really sad. We'll get into that. And they had a fourth child, Patrick, that was born on August 7th, 1963. August 7th, 1963. Poor Patrick is born very premature, 1963. Yep, August 7th, 1963. He was born very premature and he died 2 days after birth. And he also is buried next to his mother and father in Arlington. So, the Kennedys had 4 children, a stillborn daughter in August of 1956. Caroline was born on November 27, 1957. John Jr. November 25, 1960. And Patrick was born on August 7, 1963. Very premature, died 2 days later. So Kennedy's political career going back to 1953, during his marriage to Jackie, man, his political career really began to blossom. And all of a sudden in 1954 it came to an abrupt halt. 1954, his political career just went to a standstill. And anybody want to guess why it did? Not scandal. Anybody want to guess why his political career just stopped all of a sudden? 54. Why did it just stop? Why couldn't he perform his duties as senator? Anybody know? Back was having tremendous back pain. And so what he did, the doctors told me if he didn't have what was called a spinal fusion operation, it was likely that within a couple years he wouldn't even be able to walk. And remember all the continued health problems he had? Okay, what might he be susceptible to if he had a back surgery? Infection. So his father advised him not to have the operation. He was okay if he didn't walk in 2 years. After all, Franklin D. Roosevelt was elected to 4 terms as president out of a wheelchair. So his dad actually tried to convince him not to have the surgery because there was a risk he would not survive, actually. This is 1954. This isn't back surgery as we see it today. So his father advised him not to have the operation. When John Kennedy said, "Dad, I want to be able to walk," you can still, this is how pushy he was, you can still be president. Franklin D. Roosevelt was elected to 4 terms and he was in a wheelchair. Well, John Kennedy did not take his father's advice, which was one of the few times he did not, saying basically, "I'd rather die than live without the ability to walk." So, as a result, he had 2 separate back operations. 2 separate back operations. Now, you've got to remember again, kids, that this was not like back operations today. This is 1954 and 55 when he had these. He had the first one in October of 1954, and then he had a second one just a few months later in February of 1955. Back to back, no pun intended, back operations. Again, October 1954 and February 1955. And he did get infection after the first surgery, so bad that he was given the last rites of the Catholic Church because they thought he was going to die. So he had surgeries in October of 1954 and February of 1955, and because of the infection they predicted he would get after the first surgery, he actually was given the last rites of the Catholic Church because they thought he was going to die. Now, it took him 9 months to recover and be able to return to the Senate. He basically took 9 months off after his second back surgery to recover. He couldn't go to work, he couldn't be in the Senate. He was still considered a senator, and they went on without him. And this back pain that he experienced haunted him the rest of his life. I'll tell you a story about him, and you'll hear about this later. Okay? And this is the last thing I'll tell you today. When he was in the White House, he was under a lot of pain. He had Addison's disease. He was in bad shape. He really was. And he had his own personal physician, a guy by the name of Dr. Max Jacobson, who's on your sheet. And Max Jacobson had a reputation among the Hollywood crowd of treating Hollywood actresses and actors. And he was so free with his treatment, he got the nickname Dr. Feelgood. They called him Dr. Feelgood. And what he did basically, when the president would have trouble, he'd give him vitamin B12 shots and basically shoot him up with amphetamines, speed, to get him going because his back was hurt. I'm not making this up. Yeah. He would supply amphetamines to many Hollywood celebrities. He took advantage of his services, and the president would call him often. Matter of fact, when Jackie wasn't feeling up to snuff, old Dr. Feelgood would come in and give her a shot or two. It was common among Hollywood celebrities. Now, for you sports nuts, and maybe you, I'll bet even Mary, who claims not to be a sports nut, might know this. Anybody heard of Mickey Mantle? If you haven't heard of Mickey Mantle, we are going to talk about sports in the 60s. Nobody's heard of Mickey Mantle in here? Are you serious? Not one soul. When you guys go home tonight and your parents say, "Did you learn anything in school today?" you tell them you learned about Mickey Mantle, and at least your dads will be impressed. Mickey Mantle was a great baseball player for the New York Yankees in the 1960s. Okay, you ever heard of Roger Maris? No way! Really? You ever heard of Babe Ruth? If you say no on this, I'm knocking you out. Okay, Babe Ruth, for years and years and years, Glenn, had the record for what? Okay, let's quit pounding everything around because I can't hear you. Okay, home runs in a what? In a season, and what else? Overall. He had the most home runs in baseball in the career and during a season. He had 714 in his career, was a record, and he hit 60 home runs in one season. Well, the New York Yankees had a great player, and God, the fans loved him, Mickey Mantle. He's number 7, left-hander. Just a real big-time star in baseball. And he was the one that, by God, everybody in the Yankees wanted to break Babe Ruth's record, 60 home runs in a season. And weirdest thing happened during the 1961 season. A guy named Roger Maris, who was just kind of an average player in people's minds, started clubbing home runs like crazy. And him and Mantle were just in a great competition. They were teammates, and Mantle had hit one and Maris had hit one, and they both looked like they were going to break Babe Ruth's record. Okay? And really, did the Yankee fans want Maris to break it? No, he just got traded there. Mantle was their hero. And they get in this race, and they're trying to get along, which they're doing fine. And there's people putting pressure on him every day, to the point where Roger Maris actually lost hair because he was so stressed out. Well, what happened is Mantle got injured. This is where my story makes a circle. Mantle got injured about halfway through the year, and he was on pace to break this record. And guess who he called to get him back in action? Max Jacobson, Dr. Feelgood, came in and gave him a shot in the rear end, and he got infected and put him out for the rest of the season. So who broke the record? Maris ends up breaking the record, hitting 61 home runs in 1961. And there's a great, if we have some time, you don't even have to be a sports fan to like that movie, but it's a movie called 61 and the pressures that those guys faced to try to break that record. But Dr. Feelgood, Max Jacobson, had a role in that, because what he did is he gave Mantle a shot that infected and took him out for the season. So he wasn't a great doctor, but he basically was just a drug pusher in a way that would give these Hollywood celebrities and whoever else wanted to make shots of amphetamine to get them kind of popped up. Okay? So this is the story there. All right, what we'll do then is we're going to finish this very short lecture. Tomorrow's Friday. How many people are not going to be here tomorrow? Okay, there'll be a few of you. I will do a review on the video, and you need to pick that up tomorrow, the review. I shouldn't even tell you this, I am not a huge test giver on Mondays. I just don't like to give them on Monday because what do kids do? Kids, in my opinion, kids shouldn't have to spend the whole weekend studying, okay? That's your weekend. So I'm not a Monday test taker. So you can plan on getting a test probably next Tuesday. So we'll have a review tomorrow, finish this lecture and have a review. Then Monday I'm going to show you some DVD on PT 109 so you get kind of a feel on that. And we'll have a test Tuesday. Okay, does that sound all right? Okay. Hey, Mr. Wright, what's happening, my man?
Oh, I'm just hanging out. I heard you lecturing before.
You ever heard of, let me ask you this. We're going to separate years of time. Do you know who Mickey Mantle is?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you know who Roger Maris is?
Yep.
What's the significance of the two?
Well, they were both on the Yankees. They were both home run hitters. They were both chasing Babe Ruth's single-season home run record in 1961.
Oh, yeah. How about a hand for this?
Thank you very much. I'll be here all week.
And you know why Mickey Mantle got knocked out of the race? Even though he got injured, didn't finish the season. You know why?
Because he was drunk.
No, but let me tell you something.
later
These
on.
kids can tell you why, so I'm going to have Mauricio Caballero tell you why Mickey Mantle did not finish that season. Tell him.
Mauricio laid on me.
Tell him, Mauricio. Preach to him, baby.
He got hurt, and then he called Dr. Feelgood to come over and give him the shot, and he got a shot, got infected, and put him out for the season.
Now, Mr. Wright, do you know who Dr. Feelgood is?
Yeah, I don't know, but I have a hunch.
Well, go ahead. Give us your hunch. You're not. This is an open class. This isn't PG-13.
Well, it was before Motley Crue's time, so
No.
they have a song called Dr. Feelgood.
Yeah, okay.
Those of
Now,
you who don't know.
Schneider is going to tell you exactly who Dr. Feelgood was.
Okay.
Tell him. Preach to him, baby.
Where's Schneider?
Don't remember his name.
Jacobson.
He was Max Jacobson. He was a doctor that used to give amphetamine shots to all of the Hollywood celebrities, and President Kennedy used him quite often when his back pain was acting up. So President Kennedy was high on amphetamines a lot of the time he was president.
What was the name again?
Max Jacobson.
Max Jacobson.
And Dr. Feelgood. Now we have all this on tape. I probably will shut this off.